All right, welcome back to Day to Day with Greg Michelson. I'm joined here by Raziuddin, my good friend from DataRobot, and who's doing some really incredible things in the feature engineering space. And we actually haven't chatted in a while, so I'm excited to catch up. Welcome.
Thanks, Greg. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good seeing you as well. You're up in Boston, right?
I am, man. I am. Yeah, I never moved.
You're pretty well stuck. Did I remember you had one of your kids was at Yale? Do I remember that right? Or was it Cornell?
Cornell. Yeah.
Cornell, and they've graduated since, I guess.
Yeah, he's graduated, but I think he likes Cornell a lot, so he went back. So
Okay,
he's still there.
that can happen. Grad school,
Grad school. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
good time.
So I have two boys, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. So I have one
Oh
in
wow.
New York, one in LA. So I have both coasts covered.
All right, excellent. Spanning nationwide, nationwide family.
There, you're spreading the network. Yes. How about yours, man?
Oh golly, my oldest has moved back home, so he's still kind of finding his way a bit.
All right.
Jack is about to join the army. He wants to be a welder,
Wow.
so that should be exciting. And then the youngest two are in school in Reno and Vegas, so they're off doing their matriculating.
All
So I've
right.
almost got him off the payroll.
There you
Well, I keep
go.
telling
There you go.
myself that, but I'm a long ways from having him off the payroll, I think. So, man, fill me in. How's it going at FeatureByte? Well, for folks that aren't familiar with FeatureByte,
Yeah.
maybe just do like a little background. I'd love to hear more about what you guys have going
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. So we're a data science agent, and this is something that Greg, you're going to be super familiar with as a former data robot and a data scientist extraordinaire, right? The challenge with data science and the data science life cycle is not about building models. I mean, we used to encounter that when we pitched data robot to data scientists. They're like, yeah, we can build models. I know, it's gonna maybe DataRobot or tools like DataRobot, any AutoML tool will do a slightly better job. But at the end of the day, it was all about, okay, that's the fun part.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
really kind of crappy part is just dealing with all of the data, doing feature engineering, understanding the domain, and bringing all of that knowledge and dealing with messy data. And that's like, and deploying all of that stuff, that's like 90% of the work,
Yeah,
right? For
yeah.
data scientists. And so we started FeatureByte, and, my partner in crime is somebody that you know really well. Xavier Conord used to be the chief data scientist at DataRobot. He used to be number one on Kaggle. So when we stepped outside DataRobot, we were like, okay, well, what problems haven't been solved in this space, right? And one of the ones is like, well, that's the biggest problem to go off and solve. So we said, okay, well, let's start there. So we started with feature engineering, but at the end of the day, as we started going to market, customers were like, okay, well, if you're taking care of 80-90% of the work, why don't you just do the whole thing? So we added, just added AutoML, light AutoML capabilities.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's an end-to-end data science lifecycle, data science agent that just basically starts with data that's sitting in your data warehouse or data lake, and it's a raw form, and then goes through all of the steps that a really good data scientist would do to then build a model and help you get the model as well as all of the feature pipelines deployed in production. So it's really cool, really cool. I can't take credit for building it, but I love talking about it because it's so cool.
And it's all agent based, so the user's not actually in there typing code and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's very transparent. So at the end of the day, the user can decide if they want to go in and type code or bring their own features, or just extract code, put it somewhere else if they want to deploy it in their environment. So there's a lot of flexibility. You can pretty much think of this as like an extension to the data science team that's doing a lot of things on your behalf. So it is an agent in of itself where you can say, okay, well, here's the data, here's the problem I'm looking to go off and solve. Show me what you can do with this data, right? And then it just goes off, looks at all of the metadata that's out there, tries to understand, okay, well, how it relates to the data science problem, and then does the the ideation of features as well as statistical evaluation of features, and then ultimately goes off and builds models. So it's, as you know, the whole data science lifecycle is very complex. It's not something that you can just vibe code your way through.
So are you giving it, are you pointing it at a variable? Or are you giving it like a text description? So would you say, hey, I want to model churn, or are you saying, here's my target, or kind of what do you feed it?
Yeah, so both, right? So you describe the use case. So it's like a prompt to the system, to FeatureByte, to say I want to predict churn, or I want to understand the risk associated with this set of customers or these mortgages or whatever have you, right? Any kind of classical ML use case. I hate that word. Let's call it predictive AI use case. How about that? And then you give it a variable. You give it a target to say, okay, well, this is the ground truth that I'm looking to go off and now predict on. And then it does a lot of the feature ideation, the generation of historical data sets that are point in time correct, so it avoids target leakage, and then just basically takes your data sets, splits it appropriately within training and testing and validation.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kinds of things that in many ways have been solved with AutoML, but it's all of the front end of the data science lifecycle, which is understanding the data, is figuring out, okay, well, how that data relates to the problem, bringing in domain knowledge and all that. And we've done some really clever stuff to use Gen AI as sort of the domain expert across many different domains, many different problems. So it's a problem that was very vertical in nature. We've been able to sort of make it make the solution horizontal, which is kind of
Gotcha.
what this team did with DataRobot as well, right?
Right. Now, are you guys using like one of the foundational models at the core? Do you have your own kind of like secret sauce that's baked into your system, and you kind of are using Gen AI like LLMs on the side, or what's the heart of it look like?
Yeah, it's the answer is both. We have our own IP that allows us to generate features that are relevant to a given use case. So
Mm-hmm.
it's basically using semantics of the data, so understanding the semantics of the data, and then using that to generate features that are very specific and ultimately um, give the model a lot more power and performance at the end of the day. But we also use Gen AI and foundation models like OpenAI and Anthropic Cloud models, just to kind of understand the data, be able to explain at a semantic level what the meaning of the data is, how the data relates to a given use case. And even when we generate the features, we're using LLMs to kind of guide the system, guide the agent to say, okay, well, which ones of these features are actually going to be meaningful and relevant from a semantic or domain point of view. And
Mm-hmm.
then we do statistical evaluation of those features to understand, okay, well, based on the data and based on the target, what features actually are meaningful and work for the use case.
Gotcha.
So again, kind
Uh,
of how you would approach the problem as a data scientist, right?
sure.
That's the workflow we're mimicking.
So you're out marketing to data science teams?
We're marketing to data science teams. We're also marketing to business executives who are clients of data science teams because they're the ones who face the problem of, I need to build, a whole array of models to, just get some kind of a business outcome or objective. And increasingly, I mean, this is something that we're seeing in the early stages of, which is if you're building some kind of an agentic workflow, right? So let's say you're building a retention agent or a customer service agent. At the end of the day, in order to make that agent more personalized, in order to make it more, smarter, as far as developing an intuition about the business. A lot of that data is embedded in your historical lakes, tables, and sitting in your data lakes and data warehouses, right? And you cannot just take an LLM and connect it to your data warehouse and go, well, here's 3 years worth of history. Just do whatever you want with it. I don't know if you've tried that. It doesn't go anywhere, right?
Yeah,
So you need
sure.
to extract a lot of meaning from that data in the form of predictions, in the form of metrics,
Hmm.
which inherently LLMs are not good at. That's not what they're designed to do. That's not they're trained for. And so you need almost a layer of these models, predictive models, that serve as the bridge or the translation layer between historical data and the agents and workflows that you're building. So we're seeing some really interesting use cases emerge out of that space.
Do you guys maintain like a feature store once you've done some of that feature engineering type work?
Yeah, we maintain a feature store, but we integrate with a feature store. So for example, Databricks has a feature store, we integrate with that. If a client is using Databricks, or we've integrated with Feast, which is an open source feature store. And yeah, we don't want to reinvent the whole wheel.
No sense rebuilding all those components.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And feature stores are part of the infrastructure, so it just makes sense for us to leverage components that already exist. So for example, even the compute layer, we do all of our computation in the data layer itself.
Oh, good.
So, Databricks, Snowflake, etc., we just push all the feature computation, all the anything that's data related gets pushed down into the data platform, data warehouse, data lake, um, because those capabilities are already built. These companies have done an amazing job of developing the scale and the ability to deal with massive volumes of data. So we're just leveraging all the tools available.
Now, have you found, I'm maybe side note, when you're interacting with these feature stores, have you actually found people using them? Because I always hear people talking about them, but then
Yeah.
like nobody actually uses them.
Yeah, really if you think about where feature stores are the most useful, or if you have some real-time use cases where you need to do real-time serving and real-time creation or computation of the use cases and serving of the use cases, or of the features for specific use cases. Fraud is a very good example, right? Um, so that's where we see feature stores being used.
Mm.
The all of the capabilities that
In the
exists
real
in
time
features,
stuff,
yeah, in the real-time stuff, in real-time serving or real-time computation of features.
but
But
nobody's
outside
actually
of
doing
that,
anything real time anyway, right?
yeah, I mean, there are, if you think about like financial services fraud, etc., there are definitely tons of real-time use cases, but in the 90, maybe even the 95 to 98% of the cases, all of the feature store, the reason it was designed is kind of an overkill. But
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a great idea to be able to have like this list of useful variables and track who's been using which variables in which
right.
applications, and then you can sort them by the most valuable and maintain quality and blah 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 blah. Nobody's doing this though.
Yeah, not too many folks are doing it. You can think of it, feature stores as almost like a specialized database, right? I mean, it's like a bunch of tables that are dedicated to just maintaining your features. And that's really helpful, especially if you have a large team. That's instead of having to reinvent the wheel every single time, create the same features by, different folks or different parts of the organization, you can have reuse of the same features and capabilities. But at the end of the day, um, that you can also accomplish that by
Yeah, which is a
just
table
a
in
bunch
a
of tables,
database.
right?
I
But
wonder.
we're also seeing like some of the same customers who've traditionally done completely batch oriented use cases moving towards these real time use cases. So it's an easy transition for them to go from offline features to online features that can be served in real time. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
it
not the
seems to me.
norm.
Yeah, it seems to me like data scientists are really good at inventing stuff that people don't actually use. Like there's a lot of buzz out there in the space. Uh, I think more than other kind of areas. Do you find that to be true? Like there's
In
a
the
lot of
feature store space,
no, but just in general. Like you had feature stores, and then I don't know. Part of me thinks that this whole experiment tracking thing is kind of like who's actually doing that. And like the whole weights and biases thing. Like
yeah.
I'm like, are these things that are real that people are actually using? I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of that stuff in the data science space.
Yeah, I think some of this, it's if you think about like some of the tools that have emerged, and I saw this with big data as an example, right? When everyone was talking about big data, you had so many different tools available. If you remember Zookeeper from the Hadoop and Cloudera days, right?
Wow,
There
that's
were
a
like,
throwback.
yeah, there are like, all these different tools that
Mm,
had animal names associated with them that were just emerging, mushrooming out of nowhere, right? And then a few of them survived, right? That are actually really useful. It's that's kind of the way that a collective kind of emergence of these tools occurs
yeah,
from my
yeah, yeah,
perspective. Even developer tools, right? There's just so many of them that come and go,
yeah.
and then a really small handful of them stick, and they're the ones that kind of take a life of their own.
That win. Yeah, yeah, that's totally
Yeah,
right. So I'm interested in it because Zerb is a development environment, right? So
right.
we're also working with like data analysts and people, anybody that's interacting with code or with data using code, right? That's who we sort of work with,
Yeah,
and it seems like I guess it's sort of a hard group to pin down to define really because there's so many different kinds of people that are working with data,
right,
right? So
right.
like there's a person in there's a person at Zerv who's focused on operations, and she always asks, "Who's our ideal customer?"
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, good question. It's an
Anyone that
important
uses
question.
data.
Yeah, and so but it's hard to like pin it down because you don't want to say data scientists because there's not very many like data scientists that are actually doing modeling all the time, and that's
Right,
not even the majority of work that people are doing with data. Like a
right.
lot of times people are just drawing a chart because they need to answer a question or they need to fill up a slide for a meeting or something like that. So there's such a huge diversity of data work. Have you guys encountered that in your sort of go to market journey?
Yeah, so our focus is very narrow, right? We're focused very much on predictive AI and building more classical machine learning models,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And the way I see the world now, Greg, is kind of how you described the the data science world and the world of data scientists is changing and evolving really significantly, right? So if you encounter, 10 data scientists, eight of them are thinking about, okay, well, do I become an AI engineer or do I, just focus exclusively on prompting in LLMs or doing something besides what I was sort of trained to do or what I've been doing for the last 5 to 10 years, right? Um, but that is what's giving us a lot of opportunity, which is, we go to clients that have a big need to go and refresh their models to deploy a whole lot more models in production. And without some kind of automation, there's no way in hell they're going to be able to achieve that, right? I was talking to a mutual friend of ours just yesterday, Ben Miller from Forian, um, and he was talking about the fact that the bulk of his time just gets consumed on building and maintaining features and feature pipelines, right? So the automation will allow him to do 5x basically what he was able to do. And as we were talking about similar topics, he was like, look, any data scientist or any data science team that's not thinking about automation is just going to be left behind. It's just like, just like coding, right? if you're not using one of the coding assistants or some kind of LLMs to help you code better, faster,
Yep. Yep.
it's not an option anymore. I mean, if you're a super coder that, can be very productive even outside of using any of these coding agents or tools, good for you. But you're in the top 1% of coders
Yeah,
out there, right?
they're so good. I mean,
Yeah.
you're completely right. You'd be insane not to use them. I just did like a live coding event, like a webinar where everybody was kind of on coding together, and we were building a optimization for electrical vehicle charging stations in a synthetic city. It was just
Okay.
that was a problem
Yeah.
we were working on, and we divided the problem up into steps. So it was me and one of the co-founders of Zerv that were doing it.
Yeah.
And so I divided the problem up into 6 different steps. And each one of those had a prompt. And so I was like, okay, do step 1, step 2,
Right.
step 3, 6 steps. Remarkable. It worked. It was great. And Jason, my co-founder, he one-shotted it. He put the entire thing in one prompt.
Yeah.
And the agent just boom, spat out all the code you needed, all the everything just done, boom, in one
Wow.
prompt.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the level of quality coming out of these models from like GPT 3.5 to today is
Yeah.
remarkable. It's
It's
crazy.
remarkable. Yes. Yeah. And it's only going to improve. We
Hmm.
all know that. And, similarly, these tools like, what we're building at FeatureByte. I mean, the results that we've been able to show is a process that takes 2 to 3 months to go off and build a good production ready ML model. We're able to get it down to 2 to 3 days. But the more interesting part of this whole thing is we're able to show an improvement in the overall model performance by just building much better features. Because at the end of the day, features are the ones that are driving the performance of these ML models. And we've seen anywhere from just 3, 4 to all the way up to 18% improvement in performance, which is just mind blowing, right?
Can be huge. Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, so when you have these automated tools that give you both, the 2 dimensions of value that you care about, which is, how fast can I have my teams go off and execute on these projects and build these models, and
Hmm.
what's the quality of those models? I mean, there's no argument to say, okay, well, no, I like doing things my own way, writing a bunch of code, and maybe instead of 3 months, it's gonna take 2 months now. But
Hmm.
it's yeah, sometimes it's a mind-blowing exercise to try to justify, why
Now,
automation is good.
now you guys just kicked off a big contest like a month or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So it is based on, the kinds of results that we're seeing. We're like, and even with, going back to Ben, when we did a POC with him, and I consider him like the one of the top 1% of data scientists,
Yeah, he's great.
at least at DataRobot, right? And DataRobot had a strong collection of some of the really good data scientists out there, and he was one of the best. And we were able to show a 10-12% improvement on the models that he had built within a matter of a couple of days, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm looking at that and going, okay, well, if you can do that with Ben's models
Hmm.
and here and there and and this is something that we will just put a challenge out there and just ask any data scientist that wants to test their production models against a data science agent. We'll just do an open competition. Because you think about it, Greg, once you're behind a firewall, you've got your proprietary data that you're using to build a production model. There's no way to benchmark how good that model is, right? It's whatever your team has done or whatever,
Hmm. Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
somebody or some team has built, and you're like, okay, I guess it's as good as it gets, right? And if that model is important for you and it's gonna get, it's typically it's not the only model. You've got a suite of models, and if those models are important for you, you at least need some way of benchmarking it. So he said, hey, look, this is a competition that's for business. It's not like a Kaggle competition because you have Kaggle out there. You can just create some curated, engineered data sets. Nothing
Yeah.
like that. This is
Yep.
real world. You
Hmm.
bring your data, your model, and test it against FeatureByte, a model that FeatureByte builds, and see how good or you know uh, not so good it is. And if you can outperform the FeatureByte model, we'll actually give you a cash prize of $10,000 for the winner. And so we're
For the
running
winner.
that competition right now. It's I encourage every data science team, every organization, even business folks who are interested in knowing, okay, well, how good their data science team is.
Hmm.
Test it out.
Now I'm
Throw
I'm
down.
curious about how you guys go to market, because our Zerv is a PLG play. So the way we
Yeah,
talk to data scientists is like sign up for free. If you need
yeah,
more credits, you can buy them. That sort of thing. That's our approach. But it sounds like you're more kind of B2B type
yeah. We're
model.
we're at this point we're very much B2B. We
Hmm.
want to open it up, for more of a PLG model. I think the based on kind of how FeatureByte works and where it adds value, we need to connect into the data warehouse or data. We need access to the raw
Yep.
data in order
Yep.
to do its thing, right? In order
Yep.
for the agent to do its thing. And typically that requires, somebody
You got to get
at the
installed. You
executive
got to get
level to
access. Yeah.
say, yes, I want to bring this in and I want to, I believe in the value. I at least want to see what it can do. So we can connect from the outside, but still we need access to the data repository,
Hmm.
or we get installed inside, which again obviously requires infosec and IT and all that. So yeah, so we do. We tend to go to the folks who are running these data science teams, who care about productivity and ultimately the performance of the models, to say, look, we can help you on both of those metrics.
And how? So as these large language models get better and better, how is that going to impact the way that FeatureByte works? Because
Yeah. So
they're
yeah,
good now, but they're still
yeah.
it's still not a set it and forget it kind of thing. Like you still need a lot of supervision.
Yeah, I think so. Again, when it comes to tabular data in particular, right? So dealing with the large volumes of historical tabular data or data that's primarily tabular, it can have text, it can have images, etc., but the data is primarily tabular. The classical algorithms and models still outperform even the deep learning ones, right? And there are lots of research projects to try to build tabular foundation models in some ways, but they only work on a single data set. There are some limitations on accuracy or limitations on scalability, etc. And even the accuracy, and works well in certain situations and not so well in others. The way we see it is, as these tabular foundation models develop, we'll just use them pretty much like how we utilize something like XGBoost or LightGBM to build these
Wait,
models.
what is a tabular foundation model? I've never heard of that before.
You'll have to just go and look it up. So it's the equivalent of a foundation model built for tabular data in particular. So it's those are research projects right now. There are some open source libraries and open source models, but none of them have crossed over or delivered the
They're not
scalability,
self-aware yet.
performance,
Yeah.
etc. to
Gotcha.
become
All
mainstream
right.
just yet, right?
Okay.
And so yeah, as far as we are concerned, we see agents and an agentic framework as a much better way of approaching data science and being able to model out data science, as opposed to just trying to build one single model, or trying to somehow sort of just twist and turn the LLMs to work on tabular data.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I'm not aware of those tabular foundation. Do you have to train them? Do you?
Yeah, you have to train them on different data sets, and some of them are pre-trained models, so they're trained on tabular data that's publicly available. And one of the biggest challenges with tabular data is most of the data is proprietary, right? It's sitting behind firewalls, and there's no inherent kind of context and structure, which is which which is sort of in some ways ironic because it's called structured data, but at the end of the day, 2, 3, 4 in one table and one column within a table means something completely different than 2, 3, 4 in a different one, right? But it's the same
Yeah,
number has a completely different set of connotation from one column to another, one table to another, one business to another, one industry to another, right?
sure. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so it's not like you can just have a series of numbers and train an LLM on it and get some meaningful output out of it. That's one of the biggest limitations out there with tabular data. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Hmm. Wild. All right, what's next for you guys? You got some big stuff on the horizon as far as roadmap goes?
yeah, it's building out a bunch of different types of use cases. So we're just in the process of adding uplift models, which we're starting to see becoming more and more mainstream. So it's causal
What's what's
inference.
what's an uplift model? I don't.
So it's being able to identify the just the clauses, the features for not just correlations, but using for or using these features for causal modeling to
Oh,
understand, yes, um, what actually causes a certain outcome and a certain prediction, which can be very useful for all kinds of use cases, from modeling to risk analysis to fraud, et cetera, et cetera.
right.
So
Obviously.
we're doing that, just scale and different types of use cases is something that we continue to build out. So yeah, and then
Awesome.
just going off and raising more money and
Oh
scaling
God.
our go-to-market. So that's the next big thing for us.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about fundraising right now. It's
That's the fun part, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Sign me up for more of that. All right. Well, hey, last question. Talk to us about some non-business related uses that you've got for. Are you a ChatGPT guy? Do you use Claude? What's your model of choice?
I mean, personally, I use ChatGPT.
Okay. And
Um,
what's the last thing you asked it that was non-business related?
uh, well, I do a lot with ChatGPT on a regular basis.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a regular user of it. Everything from just analyzing resumes to helping brainstorm ideas for blogs and LinkedIn posts to helping polish up whatever
Those are
messaging
all
we want to get
business
out.
related.
Yeah, most of it is business. Come on, man. You and I are startup founders. Is there anything else to think about and do besides the business?
I use it for cooking all the time.
Oh,
Turns out
really?
ChatGPT is really good at recipes. Uh,
Okay.
so that's a good one.
Okay. I
I
gotta.
just did ChatGPT has a thing that will send reminders now. Like
Okay.
you can send a notification to the app on your phone.
Okay.
And so like if I've got something going during the day, I could say, "Hey, every 30 minutes send me a notification reminding me about this," or something like that. So
Interesting.
that's been really useful.
Okay. I can set that up on my calendar as well.
All right. All right. Details. Well, hey,
Yeah, it's
Razi, thanks so much for taking the time. This was really fun to catch up.
great to catch up as always. Greg, it's good to see you. All the
Yeah.
best. All the
Absolutely,
best with
absolutely.
Zerv.
We wish you the best too.
Thank you very
Excited
much.
to see where you guys end up.
Likewise.
All right, cool. All right, man. Thanks again. We'll see you later.